Welcome to this event entitled Libyan General Elections 2021, a discussion series with Libyan leaders. This event is offered in both English and Arabic on the event page. Please choose the player which works best for you. The event is being live streamed and recorded. I am Michael Yaffe, Vice President of the Middle East and North Africa Center at the United States Institute of Peace, USIP. For those of you who have attended prior USIP events, let me welcome you back. And for those of you who are new to USIP, welcome. And permit me to say a few words about the Institute. USIP was created by an act of Congress in 1984 to serve as an independent, nonpartisan institute dedicated to peace building, particularly the prevention, mitigation, and resolution of violent conflict. We conduct research, training, and convening, and work in conflict zones around the world with a presence in 16 countries. USIP has been working in Libya since 2012, where we conduct research for informing policymakers and practitioners about conflict-related issues, and help build a local peace infrastructure to strengthen the capacity of key stakeholders like women and youth, and institutions like the Ministry of Justice. USIP recently began a project with funding from the US State Department to increase election security by working with the Ministry of Interior to strengthen the police's ability to partner and problem solve within communities. Now, I would like, in light of the upcoming elections set to begin next month, today's event is a timely conversation with Dr. Arif Ali Aynaye. This event is the third in a series of moderated discussions USIP is hosting to provide a neutral platform for Libyans seeking to play a critical role, including potentially high office in a future permanent government. Recordings of the previous interviews with Fatih Bashaga and Fatal Lamine are available at the USIP website. The elections are scheduled for the end of December, are not just any elections. They will provide Libyans with an opportunity to have their say in the representational government, including the first elected president of Libya. Making sure that the elections are fair and safe will be very important. For those of you who are interested in learning more about preventing election violence, we would like to invite you to take one of USIP's online courses on the subject. Available through our online global campus at www.usipglobalcampus.org. The Preventing Election Violence full-length and micro courses in English are available for free access. Anyone who would like to have these course materials in Arabic, we hope to have that up online soon. In the meantime, please reach out to us at the USIP at the academy@usip.org to discuss receiving a copy of these Arabic language materials before they are officially put online. Elections, of course, are only the beginning of the journey to set Libya on a path to deal with complex issues of governance and sovereignty. Issues like the presence of mercenaries in the country, foreign meddling, institutional disunity, minority inclusion, transitional justice, and other matters are to be decided by a representational government. In the spirit of fostering dialogue, each speaker we host will have several minutes to give opening remarks that address some of these issues, after which I will ask them questions in order to explicate their positions and views. I would try to ask the same questions to all speakers in this discussion series so people can hear and compare their unique responses. After that, I will turn to the audience members for their questions. For the audience watching online, we encourage you to send questions for Dr. Aynaye through the chat box. You can also send questions through Twitter at #LibyaElectionsUSIP, and we will try to get to as many as possible. Now, I am pleased to introduce Dr. Aynaye. Dr. Aynaye is a former Libyan ambassador to the United Arab Emirates and is currently chairman of Kamal Research and Media Company and chairman of the Libya Institute of Advanced Studies. During the Libyan Revolution, He was also the Chief Operations Manager of the Libyan Stabilization Team. He has taught and lectured in Islamic theology, logic, and spirituality at the restored Uthman Kushna Madrasa in Tripoli. He is a senior advisor to the Cambridge Interfaith Program, a fellow at the Royal Al-Abat Institute in Jordan, and a member of the Board of Advisors of the Templeton Foundation. He was a professor at the Pontifical Institute for Arabic and Islamic Studies in Rome and the International Institute for Islamic Thought and Civilization in Malaysia. He previously headed an information technology company based in the UAE and Libya, and he received a Bachelor's of Science in Engineering, a Master's of Philosophy of Science, and a PhD in Hermeneutics from the University of Guelph in Canada. He has published on a wide range of topics, from Libyan-Russian relations to ISIS in Libya to the theology of neighborhoodness. With that, let me turn the floor over to Dr. Aynaye, and we look forward to your opening remarks. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Michael. Ladies and gentlemen, greetings. And thank you very much to USIP for this opportunity. These neutral platforms for discussion are immensely important for democracy. Yesterday, there was an initiative initiated by a couple of young Libyans at the Libya desk that saw the meeting of several candidates to the presidency or aspirants to the presidency of Libya. And it was the first of its kind. This platform of USIP also is the first of its kind. And we are in a period of what Hannah Arendt calls natality, a new beginning. And these platforms are very, very important. And I am grateful to be given an opportunity to participate with you in this exciting experiment in many ways. I am glad that I have been preceded by two colleagues, fellow candidates to the presidency of Libya. I wish them well. I wish all my colleagues well. The very fact that we have an election is a joyous moment. Yesterday, when I submitted my papers for the candidacy for the presidency, it was probably the most exciting moment of my life. I felt a particular joy at the fact that we have presidential elections and parliamentarian elections. For your information, these presidential elections have been postponed for multiple years now. Since 2011, we've only had parliamentarian elections, and the presidential elections kept getting postponed. In 2014, Decree number 5 established that there should be direct presidential elections, but they have been constantly postponed year after year, even after the Paris Accord in 2018, summer of 2018, when it was decided that elections will happen in December 2018. Again, there have been postponements and procrastinations. And the reason for these postponements and procrastinations are very simple. It is basically what I call tyranny of the minority. You know, John Stuart Mill in his famous works, warned of tyranny of the majority in democracy. What we've had in Libya is tyranny of the minority, a minority that's benefiting from the chaos that we are living in. And they have been able to postpone and procrastinate over the elections for multiple years. So it is a particular joy to actually finally have these elections, and a great honor to have an opportunity to participate in them. I look forward to these elections. I hope that they will be fair and balanced and transparent and well monitored, and that the results will be respected by everyone concerned. As a candidate, I hereby commit, and I have done it in writing, to respect the results of the election, no matter what the results are. And I hope that all our colleagues will do the same, and that everybody will uphold their commitments in order to give Libya an amazing opportunity to live a life of democracy and to choose its leadership for the very first time in its very long and arduous history. I am running for the presidency on a platform that is actually not a single person's creation, but actually the ideation of a community of young women and men from Libya, and also with the help of various international consultants and friends and advisors, we have been able to put together a vision for the country, which is called Ihya Libya. Ihya is a word that means reviving. It comes from the word for life. Ihya Libya is reviving Libya, and it is our vision is published on ihyalibya.com. I hope you'll get a chance to consult the website to see the details of our vision. And this vision was developed through our institute, which is called the Libya Institute for Advanced Studies, over a number of years. It is an open project, which is continuously being improved and re-articulated. And I am very happy to say that this vision is also adopted by multiple parliamentarian candidates. So it's not only the platform for my own candidacy, but it's actually shared by several young people who are running for the parliament as well. Without any further ado, let me just tell you the very basic elements of this vision, and then I will open the floor and be able to respond to particular questions. I would like this to be more of an engagement rather than a talk. Our vision is based on a vision of Libya that is actually combines its honor and dignity as a sovereign state, a united state, with its beauty and sublime beauty and sublime values. It has four foundations. The first is what we call Serene Libya, Libya Hania in Arabic. And this is a vision of a country that lives in peace and security with a unified army based on the 5+5 committee work, which we salute here. Unified police force, unified border security, and with an independent judiciary that is respected and protected and kept safe from interference by the other arms of government and the legislature. The second foundation is what we call Thriving Libya. In Arabic, it's Libya al-Zahira. And it is basically a vision of a circular economy that is sustainable, focuses on sustainable development with lots of opportunities for young women and men through small and medium-sized businesses, and partnership between the private and the public sector with major reform of the public sector. Digitization and basically trying to be at the forefront of new developments, including communications, blockchain technology for establishing networks of trust and various other solutions that we'll be introducing. The third pillar of this vision is what we call Compassionate Libya, or Libya Samha. It's a vision of a compassionate and forgiving Libya with an idea of national reconciliation being foundational. And when we talk of national reconciliation, we mean real national reconciliation based on mutual respect and respecting the grievances and the worries and the fears of others, and not just systems of compensation, as has been unfortunately done for the last few years. We are looking for a real truth and reconciliation process with deep forgiveness and amends to the people who have been hurt, so that we can have a true national reconciliation. Lastly, the fourth pillar is that of a clean Libya. Libya that's clean, not only environmentally, but also clean from violence and clean from corruption, which is a real big problem in Libya, a corrosive problem that is like a cancer eating the body politic and the very state, and has led to multiple problems in all the sectors of Libya. We look forward to a pristine Libya that will fight corruption and organized crime, drug trade, the trade in humanity, the tragic abuse of immigrants and various fragile and vulnerable human beings. So on the basis of these four pillars, we have a complete vision for the country, and its completeness is because of its open-endedness and its openness to continuous revision through discussion. We do invite you to visit our website and to send us any suggestions. Your suggestions will be incorporated as much as we can in the further iterations of the vision. We try to combine throughout the vision rootedness in our long history, diverse history, pluralistic history, respecting all the cultures of Libya, the Amazigh, the Arab, the Tibu, the Tuareg cultures and other cultures. We also combine this rootedness with openness onto our horizons, the horizon of the Mediterranean. We try to revive our classical heritage of connecting the European continent with the African continent. And we also focus our vision on humanity and humanism, recognizing that the human being is the center of our vision and the center of ultimate value. And we do recognize that this humanity is 50% women and 50% men. We have publicly committed to making sure that women have at least 50% of all high offices and key positions in our future government. We also have a youthful vision in that we recognize that Libya is mostly young people, 70 to 80%. And that's why we will be actually appointing young ministers to the tune of 70% of all ministries and high offices to young people, women and men. This is in a nutshell our vision for the country. I hope you do take the time to study it. We welcome your suggestions. And at this, I will stop and open the floor to any questions you'd like to ask.
Great, thank you, Dr. Nayed. That was a comprehensive opening statement, and I hope to pick up on some of those points. I'd like to ask you some questions, and I'm actually going to try to combine my questions with some of them we are already receiving online. The first question I wanted to talk about would be concerning the elections themselves. And as you know, the presidential election is scheduled to be on December 24th. What is your assessment about whether the election actually will happen and whether it will happen on time? And also about your views about the following parliamentary elections, about whether those elections will also happen on time.
I think that the pulse of the Libyan people is the thing to pay most attention to, and the expressed will of the Libyan people. There have been multiple surveys of public opinion through polling and various other means, online and telephone polling, and various institutions have done that. And the overwhelming majority of the Libyan people in these polls and public opinion surveys not only say that they want elections, but are emphatically insistent on them. I take great comfort in that, because I think it's ultimately the will of the Libyan people that will make sure the elections happen. And we have also seen articulated statements by multiple political parties, over 25 political parties and blocs, and youth movements and women unions have expressed themselves multiple times demanding these elections, demanding that they are both parliamentarian and presidential. We are also comforted by the fact that there's, for the first time, a total alignment between the will of the Libyan people to have these elections on time and the will of the international community, which has expressed itself in UN Security Council resolutions, the last two of which were quite emphatic about the date and quite emphatic about the fact that the present temporary government ends on December 24th. And cannot have any further legitimacy. The elections are the only means for refreshing and renewing legitimacy. And because of this combined union between the will of the Libyan people as expressed by various opinion polls, and also the will of the international community as expressed in UN Security Council resolutions that are binding, and also through the outputs of Berlin 1, Berlin 2, the Paris meeting that just happened last week. We are quite confident that these elections will happen on time and that there will be both presidential and parliamentarian. We at Ihya Libya or Reviving Libya movement, we feel that it's important for these elections to be simultaneous. And we understand the most important part of being simultaneous is the president and the parliament swearing the oath and their allegiance to the constitutional basis of this country on the same day. It's very important to prevent a gap happening whereby there is a parliament with no president or a president with no parliament, because we have tried this before, and each time there was a parliament without a president, the presidency got canceled somehow or postponed. We feel that the checks and balances between the three branches of government are essential to good governance and to democracy. And we feel that part of the reason we have been in almost continuous chaos for the last 10 years or so is the fact that the parliamentarian branch or the legislative branch has made pretenses to the executive branch and have actually interfered in executive governance. And we feel that the separation of powers and the balance between these powers is of the utmost importance. In 2013, the February committee actually wrote a very important document, which has been rendered part of the constitutional declaration through various amendments, in which they did separate these powers and explain them quite clearly. We feel that the elections will happen on time and will produce a fresh parliament and a fresh presidency, both on the same day, because taking oath will happen on the same day. And we feel that, plus an independent judiciary, and we are very proud of our judiciary in Libya, we feel that we will take our first steps to a balanced democracy where nobody can abuse anybody and where the branches of government are kept in check by each other.
Great, thank you for that. Just sticking with the elections themselves, as I mentioned in my opening remarks, there's a lot of interest in preventing election-related violence. Certainly my institute and others are very concerned about that. And you as well in your opening remarks talked about election integrity and safety. What measures do you think should be taken in order to ensure a peaceful election cycle? A cycle which begins, of course, not just with election day, but before and after election day.
I think there are some measures that are domestic and purely Libyan, and the most important of these is the commitment of local communities. These electoral centers are always placed in the middle of communities, normally in schools, and it is the responsibility of each community to make sure that that the center in its midst is protected and is kept sanctified from any interference or violence or attempts at sabotage. Communal securing of the electoral points and the communal monitoring of the electoral points is of the utmost importance, and also the commitment of local police, local armed forces. Everybody has to chip in and make sure that the elections are secured. This is at the local level. At the international level, the most important thing is to very vocally, emphatically, clearly, and systematically express zero tolerance towards any attempt to corrupt these elections or delay them or postpone them or basically sabotage them in any way. And the UN has been very clear, the UN Security Council has been very clear, the output of the Paris meeting has been very clear that saboteurs of the elections will be held responsible and that sanctions may be implemented against them. This is very, very important, especially when the saboteurs happen to hold high office, be it executive or legislative or advisory. There should be no tolerance of utterances that are irresponsible and that are invoking violence. Over the last week, unfortunately, we've had some express speeches by some politicians who are in power, trying to play games with the laws and trying to use a kind of a populist line, enthusing the youths through giveaways and trying to get them to agitate against the existing laws of the elections. This should not be acceptable and should not be tolerated at all. We have also seen people trying to redesign the law so that they can fix some mistakes they made by not resigning in time. This should not be tolerated. We have also seen a head of an advisory board or body that is pretending that it's a second legislature and trying to even threaten the use of force by saying that he has forces behind him and so on, to actually intimidate the Electoral Commission. We've even had some commentators on Clubhouse and Facebook and other places directly threatening the head of the Electoral Commission. This kind of behavior should not be tolerated. Platforms like Facebook should monitor for such threatening discourse and should shut down these people. And also people who actually make such utterances should be held responsible legally within Libya and also internationally. I believe a combination of communal commitment to the elections plus international monitoring and implementation of sanctions against people who try to sabotage them are necessary in order to have timely, transparent, clean, and peaceful elections.
Great, thank you for that. As you mentioned in your opening remarks as well, you talked about submitting your papers to become a candidate for the president, the first elected president of Libya. If you were elected, how would you envision your role as the first president and leader of the country? Do you have a general philosophy of leadership?
I believe that leadership in Libya in this very first presidency has to center around compassion, forgiveness, and reconciliation before anything else. We have been torn apart through a sequence of civil wars that started in 2011 and have been relentlessly continuing. You know, people always remember the last war, but there have been at least a dozen wars in Libya since 2011. And these wars have torn the country apart. They have separated, you know, communities. They have separated individuals, even within families. And this rupture in the social fabric is the most challenging problem before the new president. I believe that the presidency has to be first and foremost concerned with national reconciliation, a national reconciliation which is not based on a paint job or a throw money at grievances approach, but one that is genuinely based on truth and reconciliation and compassion, and trying to amend the social fabric through mechanisms that are actually quite known to Libyans. It's very interesting that for the last 10 years or so, actually almost 11 years, all peace initiatives that have been successful have always been based on communally based peace practices that have been inherited for centuries. Elders and notables and tribal elders and wise figures in the communities, women also played a very important role in this, have been able to broker many peace talks and have been able to achieve peace in this vast country of very deep wounds. We need to tap into these expertise and these wise peacemakers who have not been celebrated enough and who have not been given enough of a chance, unfortunately. We need to invoke their wisdom through committees and groups of reconcilers and mediators. And we need to mend the country. And the presidency has to be, before anything else, a mending presidency, a presidency that is based on the compassionate uniting of Libya through a bottom-up approach, through a communally based approach that invokes the best of values that we have. Libya is a very deep country with very deep values of love and compassion and forgiveness and reconciliation, that when we just need to tap into our values, rediscover our values, re-articulate them, and give them a modern form. And this is, we have to revive our peace-loving values and develop a situation of peace rather than war, of love rather than hatred, of trust rather than fear. And this is the top priority. Of course, it cannot just be sentiments or emotions, and there is a lot of very hard work that has to be done on the nuts and bolts of the economy to introduce a prosperity for everyone, instead of a very small elite stealing all the revenue of the country. and leaving everybody else hungry. The country needs to tap into its resources, its vast oil and gas resources and other resources, including solar energy, including wind energy, including various mining riches, including the amazing cultural heritage of Libya, including the most preserved Roman and Greek antiquities, and even prehistoric caves and various other treasures of Libya. We need to invoke all that to introduce a prosperity that will make young people busy with making a living, making new families, creating happy homes and happy children who have the top education that they deserve and the top health care that they deserve. Peace making and prosperity making through a thriving economy go hand in hand with governance through proper laws and the proper implementation of laws, and with the use of the cutting edge technologies to save time and to leapfrog over the lost time that we have unfortunately lost for the last 50 years. We need to make up time, and we need to educate our young women and men on the technologies of today and of tomorrow, and create a future together. So to summarize, it's basically a presidency that has to be mending through compassionate praxis based on traditional values of this country, values of forgiveness and reconciliation, combined with the foremost technologies of today, and trying to build a circular economy with sustainable development for young women and men in particular, so that they can create a new future for the country.
Great.